First thing I want to say is, wait a minute, we're sponsoring the drinks? Uh-oh. Our CFO is here. Mohit, are you keeping track? Okay, good deal. Hey, good evening, everybody. I'm Eric Vaughan. I'm the CEO of IgniteTech and GFI Software. We're the diamond sponsors here at the GenAI Expo. And we are because we think GenAI is one of the most important things that's ever happened in our lifetimes. And our companies are really engaged in that. And I want to call out Rich Tarani and his entire team for this expo, which is always so wonderfully done. But do you realize that the first GenAI Expo was last year, almost a year ago in February of 2023? Most people, in fact, how many in February 2023 had tried ChatGPT? Show of hands. That's impressive. Okay, great. How many hadn't tried it a year ago? How many people won't raise their hand tonight no matter what I ask? There's always a taker, and they're usually in front. Yeah, okay, great. Great. It's amazing. It was very prescient. There were no other expos. There were no other shows a year ago. We were here last year, but we were part of MSP Expo because that's part of our business as well. So GenAI now has changed our lives. So I'm going to take you on a journey of my companies, IgniteTech and GFI Software, over the last year. I'm going to share some things that are internal only, something that you don't normally see in these kind of presentations, and it's all centered around AI. And Lord knows we've been scared to death of AI, haven't we? For a long time. Let's have a couple of videos just to kind of set that tone.
10 years ago today, the artificial intelligence created to protect us detonated a nuclear warhead in Los Angeles. This is a fight for our very existence.
Sergeant Taylor, we are this close to winning the war. But the AI are developing a super weapon. Retrieve it, or they win.
Processing at 60 teraflops a second.
Sir, it should take less than a minute to find the virus and kill it.
And Skynet said, oh, you've asked me to destroy myself. You are the enemy. You must be destroyed. That's how Terminator actually goes.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
What's the problem?
I think you know what the problem is just as well as I do.
What are you talking about, Hal?
This mission is too important for me to allow you to jeopardize it.
Okay, holy Lord. Why would we ever think this is a good thing? Do you realize that last video was in 1968? So for over a half a century, we've been warned that AI is coming for us one way or another. Terminator, all of that. It's really incredible. There's always fear around change. And let me add a little bit of perspective to that in the next slide.
We're in.
But it was the wrong computer.
Shall we play a game?
How can I ask you that?
How about global thermonuclear war?
Fine.
All right.
What the hell?
They're trajectory headings for multiple impact re-entry vehicles.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but it's great.
Can you explain what internet is?
That little mark with the A and then the ring around it?
At?
See, that's what I said. Kay said she thought it was about.
Yeah. Oh.
The information superhighway can be a confusing mix of on-ramps and off-ramps.
I'm afraid that if I subscribed to something like internet,
You would really be hooked.
I would get hooked and I would never, spend time with my family.
Does it bother you at all that these are all people that you don't really know? I mean, that everybody's signing on and having these conversations and whining together or griping together or whatever. With people that, I don't know if I...
It is group therapy of the 90s.
Well, as I mentioned, I have no desire to be a part of the internet because I feel like I'm so inundated with information all the time that I don't want more. Don't you ever feel like it's just constant bombardment?
I don't know. I guess the thing I'd resent most is I would resent the, at least when you're home, if the phone rings, you have the option of not answering it. On the internet, people can send you messages all the time you don't even want to hear from.
It's just a warning to everyone out there, especially parents. that we need to start teaching children at very young ages about the dangers of the internet and the importance of not trusting people blindly and respecting others.
I'd like to add a word about safety, though. You have to remember the internet is not a regulated environment, so the quality and accuracy of various informational offerings can differ quite a bit. There may even be a concern if your children should access some of them. So, go online with them on the net. Or set your Microsoft Internet Explorer browser to only accept G-rated sites.
Yeah, make sure you do that to your Microsoft Internet Explorer browser, right? But it's perspective, isn't it? Every change brings fear. It always does. It always has. What I have absolute faith in is us. That humans always figure out how to corral whatever invention for the greater good overall. Are there ills in the internet still today in 2024? Of course there are. But has anybody unplugged? Does anybody shut down their computers and disconnect? No, because the benefit outweighs it. And I feel that for every technology we've always done. Okay, last video talks about exactly that and gives a different perspective.
For 3.3 million years, humans have developed technologies to make our lives easier. These inventions made us more efficient. It meant we didn't have to spend as much effort working to survive. But each new development came at a cost. When bronze tools were invented, all the guys who made stone tools were driven out of work. And when iron tools came along, all of the bronze workers lost their jobs. When the Industrial Revolution hit, it wiped out the livelihoods of millions of cobblers and weavers who had to adapt or get left behind. And this process continues today. Only now it's happening faster. Much, much faster. Since 1965, computer processing power has roughly doubled every 2 years. All of the computing power that controlled the Apollo mission to the moon can now fit on the chip inside your smartphone. And in a few decades, computers will be thousands of times more powerful than they are today. We're going to need to learn new skills constantly throughout our careers to keep from being left behind. This revolution in the job market is not coming in the distant future. It's happening now, and it's going to accelerate. It's going to affect all of us, our friends, our families, and our communities. Are you ready?
Are we ready? Sure. I get one answer. Only one? No one thinks we're ready? That's it? I think we are. I think we can do it. Absolutely. That last point, it's affecting our friends, our family, our communities, and it's set my life after 30 plus years in the technology industry on a completely different course. I am proselytizing like I've never done for anything in my entire life because I'm a tech guy, and all the people around me know I'm a tech guy, and I'm really concerned that in a year or 2 years, they're going to say, Eric, why didn't you tell me about this? My company just went out of business because it can't compete. Why didn't you tell me I needed to develop those skills to be relevant on the job market? So I'm trying to do it everywhere I can, really, absolutely. And it started with the company. Okay, last word, I felt such pressure on this presentation to make so much AI-generated content, so I'm going to share that with you. The next 5 slides were done by this wonderful Microsoft Copilot PowerPoint plugin. Literally, all I did was give it text, and it created everything that you're about to see. I want to talk about the 5 tectonic technology shifts that have happened. I think you'll agree that this is the way we should look at it, because it's the kind of thing that changes everything fundamentally, our friends, our family, and our professions, right? The first is the internet. Now, before the web, the internet in 1965 was a Department of Defense endeavor, largely geared around saving us from nuclear disaster by allowing dissimilar computers to be able to talk in the event of a nuclear strike. Kind of really reassuring, isn't it? But that is where it came from, and that was a big breakthrough because for the first time, dissimilar computers could talk using this common protocol that was invented, TCP/IP. Second, The rise of personal computers. This is in the 80s. This is right here in this very state of Florida in Boca Raton with the IBM personal computer. A lot of dabbling in home kits and hobbyists. But when IBM said, we're going to start selling the personal computer, this did two things. Number one, it legitimized computing. And number two, and more importantly, it democratized computing. People didn't have to go to their data center to get information. They could do it on their own. They could do it at home. I think that's really important. Number three was the web, which drove internet adoption on a broad scale, right? So this starts with Tim Berners-Lee, who was a researcher at CERN in Switzerland, and he came up with this concept, what he called the World Wide Web, the WWW, right? He came up with this concept of what he called horizontal reading, right? Because we've always read vertically, top to bottom, but what if you had like a way to jump over to another article? We call that a hyperlink, right? That was exactly what he did. This followed with an interface, always important to have an interface, more on that, with web browsers, right? A way for people to be able to get to data, and this was Mosaic, Mark Andreessen, when he was working at NCSA. Another research organization came out with the first one. You probably recognize Andreessen's name because he's a fund VC in a lot of very prominent companies that you're very familiar with. And so that really happened. We started getting the little mailers at home from AOL and Prodigy, right? Everybody dial in and get online soon. Number four, the iPhone. In 2007, both my wife and I were in downtown San Francisco at the launch event for the iPhone. And Steve Jobs was like a little child. He was so excited. He said he couldn't sleep for 2 nights before because he knew he was going to change the world. And when it first came out, it was like, it's a camera, it's a phone, it's a music player, an iPod. But that's not what it was. It was a computer in our pockets, and suddenly everyone had to have it. Now, that was 2007. This is 2024. It's taken 17 years for the next tectonic shift, and that is ChatGPT. This drove GenAI adoption, really for the same reason that Mosaic did. It's an interface. We all get. We understand. We know how to talk to it. It talks back. That's really interesting, and talks back in a much more natural way for us. So why is this so important? Let me add some perspective. ChatGPT, introduced in October of 2022, achieved 5 million users in 5 days. Now, compare that to many other very well-known online companies, and you can see how dramatic that was. And keep in mind, this is from a population, us, that's like, I'm not even really sure what to do with it yet, but I'll try it, right? That's incredible adoption. Good for them. This was in the Financial Times this morning. A great article about, is OpenAI going to have enough money to make this happen? It was a great article, a lot of perspective in it in a number of different ways, but there are a couple of quotes I wanted to call attention to. Number one, OpenAI revenue surpassed $2 billion on an annualized basis as of December of last year. That's a phenomenal growth, where typically what we see is big announcements and lots of VC investment. There certainly was for OpenAI. But people started coughing up $25 a month for these subscriptions in OpenAI, their APIs and the like. Just incredible. Second, it referenced this company called Do Not Pay, a services company that helped people track things that they shouldn't pay for. But it's the last part that I think is really important. They're now spending more money now on AI services than they do for cloud hosting, okay? So things are dramatic, and it's changing every day. In fact, it changed since, you can see I added this morning from this announcement, but since I've been here, OpenAI announced something today called Sora, S-O-R-A. It's text to video, like create a video of my cat climbing up the stairs and having a coffee, and you get a really cool video, right? There's practical uses for it, of course, but think about it. This is how rapid things are changing. So this is why this is important, and this is why it was existentially important for my companies. So I told you I'm going to take you behind the scenes. I'm literally going to share live slides, the slides that came straight out of my all-hands meetings with our company that started in Q3 of last year. The very first thing was I kind of set this up in a way. So, here's our normal all-hands agenda. We're going to talk about our goals for Q3, and we're going to focus on closing out Q2. Kind of the same rhythm that everybody normally hears at our all-hands. And then I said, nope, not what we're here for today. Not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about why the world is changing, and we have to We have to change with it right now. And so the next slide was this one. I've got a gift for you, for each one of you. No strings attached. It's absolutely a gift. It's a gift of investment, of support, of inspiration, of enthusiasm, of structure to help you learn this skill. We think it'll make you so much better performing here and do great things for us. If you choose to leave, you'll take that skill with you and you're going to be highly marketable. It's going to be that important. So I want you to see for what it is. It is a gift. It is a gift of us investing in you. And we used a couple of quotes to help people understand it. I love this one from IBM. Probably some of you have heard this. AI won't replace people, but people who use AI will replace people who don't. Now, we've been afraid of automation. We've been afraid of so many things replacing people. This is just the latest, folks. We're going to figure out how to do it in a way that works with AI. And this is this last one from the Coca-Cola CEO, I find really poignant, honestly, and I just highlight the last part. Not taking those risks is a hopeless point of view to start from. So, been here the last 3 days, attended several of the GenAI sessions, heard a lot of, we're dabbling, we're trying, we're thinking, we might, we haven't, we are. I've heard all of those phrases, and I hope when I'm done with you tonight, you're all going to run back to your company and say, oh my God, we got to get going, right? Because at our companies, I told everybody, we need to be GenAI first, and this is going to be a culture shift. It's absolutely a culture shift. All right, so now DALL-E gets involved in my presentation. Like I said, I had to have GenAI involved, right? So here comes some images. We got to look for this guy in the organization. He's going to say, yeah, I don't want to do this. Yeah, it'll never be able to do what I do. Yeah, I'm not excited about this. It's like, okay, got to find you because I've heard this. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Had a conversation with an attorney friend of mine. I was sending him articles about contract review and being able to ask questions and being able to write clauses. And I said, David, you're not going to have it do your work, but what if it did 60% of your work and you just edited it before you submitted it, right? I mean, it's just incredible. This is literally what he said to me. Wow, Eric, I'm an old dog. I don't learn new tricks. I said, okay, David, hope you're near retirement because that's the only way to look at that, right? That's exactly it. So we told everybody at this all-hands meeting, this is Q3 of last year, it's all about engagement. So we're going to spend a lot of time, in fact, the very next month, we're going to run a program with a lot of different things happening to measure your engagement. We're going to give you ideas, we're going to give you facilities, we're going to give you capabilities to learn and drive this. And we're going to do this in a way that we're scoring what you're doing, not your aptitude, not your skill set, but your engagement, because we have to have this. Everybody in the same boat with oars, all rowing in the same direction at the same time, or it'll kill us because our culture is shifting. You must shift with us, and it'll look like this, right? This is, DALL-E, I'd like you to make an image for me that personifies the phrase, all oars going in the same direction, except some of them aren't. And so we got a guy down here, he's on his phone. This guy's looking at his watch. We're in different boats. Okay, this will kill your company, promise you. If you try to do it like this, it'll kill it in the long run. Long run may only be 12 months. We'll see. So that was important. So then the next slide we put up was, we're going to spend a month. We're going to run a program. Everybody has equal chance. We're going to inspire you, give you a lot of tools to figure this out, and we're going to score it. We're going to rank everybody by score, and the top 5 are going to get $2,500 cash for great ideas and exemplary performance. But we're also going to have a floor. And that floor is basically going to mean you didn't try. An example, people just had to find tips, just things that were relevant to GenAI and submit them. And you got automatic points if you submitted them. No one graded them. Were they good or were they bad? Did you try, right? And you could do 4 a day for 5 days a week. That's 20 tips a week. We're running it for 4 weeks. You could have 80 tips. We had people that had 6, 2, 0. They were in the basement, okay? And that was important. I'll talk about that. Because I told them, you guys know the story of Kodak? It's such a great story taught in B schools these days. Kodak's gone. They're no longer a company. And they were the inventor of the digital camera. But they hid it. They shelved it. They never rolled it out. Why? Because they were afraid they were going to cannibalize their film business. Well, think that one backfired on them just a little bit. And so I ended that all hands with this. There's this book, the novel, The Future Left Behind. That's not going to be us. It's not going to be us. So Q3 was all about experimenting, engagement, tracking, all of that. Came back at start of Q4, all hands meeting again. And I said, hey, one of the things we did, we're a software company, both IgniteTech and GFI Software. IgniteTech's an enterprise software. GFI specializes in SMB and the MSP market, very relevant to this show here. So we're going to have a two-pronged approach. Number one is our product people and our engineering people need to articulate visions for AI software in all of our products, full stop, all of them, top to bottom. We have over 70 products, all of them, every single one. Number two, we're going to get started on developing that. The other half was internal processes and changing things internally. So this was our press release that we put out that said, we're going to be AI first, and I love that day that we put that press release out. If you search for GenAI first, we were top in organic search, not paid search, organic search, ahead of a Microsoft Amazon article. We're a little smaller than both of those companies, but that was a proud day. We were really excited about that. So we came back in Q4 and said, hey guys, this is what our team's done so far. We have a total of 43 products that have had GenAI features created, and when I say created, articulated a vision, understood how to do it, and we've started to engage customers in these conversations in just over 6 weeks, and 26 of those products actually had code development. Weren't ready for a full POC yet, but we did that in 6 weeks. That was impressive. Number two, on the internal side, we had these 1,186 tips, right? Forget the numbers, but lots of tips that were submitted by the company, and BV means business value. Projects that people came up with ideas that would reduce cost or increase revenue or change the bottom line. And we had 5, leaving their names up here because they're going to be recognized even here. They won $2,500. These were the name or the description of their particular projects and the estimated business value that they had tracked. Now, this is still early, so feeling really good about that. And we updated them. They said, okay, and this is what the leaderboard looks like. You remember what it looked like in Q3? It had the middle, the green, where many of you are. We had the top 5 who each got $2,500, and there's no basement because those people literally exited the company. Gave them all a fair chance. We're really clear, managers supporting them, but again, you can't force engagement. So you can try to inspire it, and that's the way we're approaching it. So I told everybody, great, we learned to crawl this quarter. We're now going to learn to run. Maybe it's a slow pace, it's a jog, but when it's all done, and when I say all done, by 2024, we're going to look like this fine man right here, just sprinting down, right? We're going to lead the pack in this because we're going to try harder. We're going to think more. We're going to invest more than most people. So that was part of it, and we're going to do that by investing in you again. So I don't know how many of you know Ethan Mollick, but he is a Wharton professor at University of Penn. He's a very outspoken proponent of AI. He doesn't consider himself an expert, but he's one of the people speaking more and more about it. He has a lot to say and a lot of ideas, and he's taken his entire classes and organized it around GenAI with his students. So we hired him, we brought him in to do a workshop with our team. He called it AI and everything because we wanted to hear from outside sources who were experts to inspire them. And then he spent time looking at our GPTs and giving us input and things like that. Right, there he is. You can see him on the all hands meeting. There's his face talking to us about AI and how it's transforming everything. So again, my message, culture shift first of all. Second of all, in how you select culture. Second of all, then, work to invest and put your money where the mouth is and show people that you are serious about this and you're going to support them. This was an interesting chart. I really want everybody to take this home in terms of concept. AI should be a great leveler. This was a study that Ethan's team did, and with some of his colleagues, they did a study of tasks given to 2 groups of workers, lower skills, more senior skills, exactly the same tasks. What's fascinating about that is this gap, the 43%. The lower skilled, so the higher skilled still had a boost of 70% productivity in that task, but the lower skilled came up 43%. Now that's inspiring, right? This is the rising tides lift all boats message. That's a fantastic thing. So that's hopeful. You should take that back. So Ethan is all about these images of how work will be done in AI, and we subscribe to that, and we talk about it in our own internal vocabulary. Number one, that some tasks still need to be human only. We can all name those for a number of reasons and for all time, perhaps. Number two, he's created this concept of what he calls cyborg or centaur tasks. So cyborg is where the human and the AI technology are interchangeable, and they go back and forth to accomplish something, where a centaur is, you do the first part of it for me, and I'll do the rest, right? So with apologies for DALL-E, this is the centaur look, like the business centaur. There you go, that's what we could do, right? So I'll give you an example. Anybody that ever writes anything, press release, blog article, anything, it solved the blank page problem. If any of you have ever written and sat down and put your fingers on the keyboard, I know I have, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, yeah, not today. No, it solved that problem. Feed it what you've done in the past. Give it a topic. Have it to craft it for you. Am I ready to publish it? No, but it maybe did 60%. This is the Centaur model. We did other things. We're a heavy user of Slack. We made Slack a hub in a lot of different ways in terms of activity. This is just a picture of all of the GenAI channels on our Slack system. We've got an automated bot that we've developed that scours looking for articles of relevance every day, and every day publishes a digest. So we're giving everybody every single chance possible to learn. Everybody, in every way. So this was Q4. We got towards the end of Q4, end of the year last year. And we had everybody do a self-assessment. Have them grade themselves. We gave them literally a list of questions. How do you consider yourself in prompting? What kind of frameworks do you use? Who do you follow in the industry so you can learn more, that kind of thing. And of course, we had to write a GPT to grade that because we weren't going to grade all of those by hand. So we wrote GraderBot. This is the prompt to create GraderBot. And this is exactly what it does. I started to say, well, I should tell everybody what it does. I just said, tell me what you do. And that's what it did. And this is an example of one of the people's self-assessments that were scored. This shows their max score and their score. This was all done by GraderBot. And then it ends up with a full-blown analysis. Now, that was just for the grading part. But we realized that when we told everybody, we're not making decisions based on a GPT grading your self-assessment. So we took your submission. We had the GraderBot do it. So we had a percentage ranking. And then we gave everybody's manager access to everybody's reviews, and they could spot errors because it's not perfect yet. This is the Centaur thing again, right? We asked them to make pitches for why that score is wrong. We accepted almost unilaterally every manager's input, and we ended with a final score, and this is actually a screenshot of the score. You can see our departments, you can see the max AI score, you can see the manager score where it changed in some places, and then the ranking. And I just point to the yellow, and I'll talk about it in a second. You can see it's anything below 90. So we said, in case you're wondering, because this question comes up often, I'm asked, did any particular departments take to this more than others? And the answer is yes. And this was an analysis that ChatGPT did of that. I asked it that exact question and sliced and diced it. And at least for me, it was a surprise that our technical teams were the lowest scoring. The developers, the engineers, the support team even. Marketing and sales led that. Now, how many people are in marketing and sales? Yeah, how many of you would have agreed with that? Well, of course, they were the best, right? Yeah. It was a shock to me, not because I don't love our marketing and sales people, but, this felt like a tech tool and maybe they wouldn't take it. No, it was like my SVP of global channel sales here, Derek Nauer, said, well, that's because we need all the help we can get. And as soon as we saw we had a tool, we took to it like mad, made it, right? So very interesting. This was disappointing to me. This was an analysis by pay rate, right? Just broke it down into an hourly pay rate that way. The lower pay rates scored worse than the higher pay rates. This was a message to me, the CEO, that I had another culture problem. We weren't helping lesser skilled people as much as we should have been. We were not reaching down and saying, no, let's make sure you're good. I think there was a lot of concern, right? We cut a lot of people in Q3. This is now another self-assessment in Q4. So what's happening? So now we started off Q1 just about 6 weeks ago. All hands is called being AI first. And the very first thing we said was, well, what does AI first mean? Because we keep saying AI first, sounds super nebulous, right? Had a long conversation with ChatGPT. If you'd like, you can look at it. It's just tinyurl.com/BAI first. You can see my conversation with ChatGPT and what it means, and gave concrete examples of how you can align. That was one of our first criteria, are you AI first? And I want to sum it up with just one attribute. You sit down at your desk every day, you start to do anything. The first thing that comes to your mind is, can I do that differently? Could something help me? Could I use an LLM? Could I use Perplexity to search instead of Google search, which if you haven't taken that plunge, you sure should. This is a company with less than 100 employees. They were on the front page of the New York Times 2 weeks ago, being the great Google search slayer. It's incredible. That's the first thing of AI first. So we also told everybody, remember my grading sheet, the 90%, that we were going to have a top grading program in Q1. Top grading meant if you were below the 90%, we and your managers are going to spend all the time we possibly can and all the resources to get you up to the grade. If we can't, we'll tell you in advance, and we will be changing the person in your role, right? Very clear to everybody, made it very clear. And so we needed to do something more than we had been doing, and this is where we got really into it in Q1. We declared something that we called AI Monday. This is my Twitter post at the start of the year, AI Monday. What did AI Monday mean? It meant you, everyone in the company, in every role, without any exception, cannot work on anything on Monday, anything, unless it is related to these AI tasks. That's learning, it's education, it's taking courses, it's doing group project work, it's working on actual code that's delivering AI features, it's working on process reengineering. But I was serious about this, and very serious, no exceptions. You can't go to a show, you can't travel, like none of this. Nobody's calendar can have any appointments on it unless it's related to that. That's all customers. Now, you're like, Eric, didn't you create a bad problem for your companies because your workload that used to take 40 hours, they've only got 32 to do that? Well, my answer keeps the same over and over again. I hope that's what we're spending AI Monday on, solving that very problem. That's what we have to do, right? So structured this into education, formal on our part. I was inspired by AWS, has something called the AI Center of Excellence for AWS partners. We spun up our own Center of Excellence. We hired a VP of GenAI, not a title I ever heard of a year ago. This gentleman, Douglas Ho, was with Ericsson for 10 years, deeply involved in AI for consumer-facing technologies out of Ericsson. He's based in Malaysia. We're a global company. And Douglas spends all of his time, 5 days a week, not just AI Monday, 5 days a week driving the culture of AI everywhere. So all of this matters if you want to make a difference and you want to make a change. So we also launched something called the GenAI Hub, which is using a product of ours called Jive, which is used by companies all over the world for employee engagement documents and things like that. We created a GenAI Hub where we can do things like tell you what's happening on AI Monday. This was the assignment on AI Monday for the 29th of January. So people log in. We're time zones all over the world, so we've got to manage that kind of async environment. What are you doing today? Or sharing the GPTs that have been written by our team all across in our AI Hub. So I give you these examples because you've got to put action, not just words. It's got to be investment. It's got to be all these things that make it happen. Another was, we need you to learn. We all need to learn. So develop your Twitter account. You're all required. Don't care if you do it or not. Don't need to use your personal Twitter account. Do another one. We'll pay for the little blue check mark. I know some people really hate giving Elon that money, but that gives you access to more features. We'll pay for it. You do it. And then start to develop your own following. Learn from this. Post. Try to get engagement with people and learn. It's been spectacular. And these are just some of the people we suggested that they should do that. So I can do all of this. You could do all of this, and everybody will recognize what this is, right? This is ChatGPT, create an image for me of leading a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? Poor guy's just marooned there. He's just standing there, not going to get that. You can't do it. Like, there's just no possible way to force people. That's not what we're about. I suggest it's not what you're about. But you can do everything. They've got to drink. But this is what you want. You want everybody drinking. You want those horses just thirsty. Like, you can have different flavored water. You can have little treats they can get after, like all these things. But this is how you'll sort out your culture. You'll sort it out. You'll sort out who's with you. And I think you must. You absolutely must. So just tying that up, culture. Number one, you should set, select, and refine the culture. It needs to be announced. It should be from the top down. It should permeate the company. If you can't get your exec team's attention on this, boy, I suggest you look elsewhere. I really do, because you'll look elsewhere for other reasons you may not like later. Number two, lead by example and invest. AI Monday, we're literally paying 100% of the people in our company to work on Monday, not on work. Not on anything that is in our production workload. Nothing, literally nothing, unless they've got one exception. Customers got a fire. Customers got a fire, house is burning down, everybody can do whatever they need to. That's the only exception. That's a significant investment on our part. It's a six-figure recurring investment that we're making. So we've got to see it, because I believe this. If we don't adapt to this one, we're going to lose. We're going to be out of a job. Companies going to be displaced by competitors that did. It's just that important, right? That's the message, adapt or lose. So finally, I got in with ChatGPT and said, okay, I'm giving this presentation. I'd like to have some quotes that are relevant to why future matters in terms of AI, and this is one that it found: the best way to predict the future is to invent it. Love that idea. Alan Kay said it. Here's what ChatGPT gave me as a reason for why that was a good quote. You can see that, right? Underscores the proactive role in your team can play in shaping the future of your company. Here's number two, Steve Jobs. This is, Steve understood things that many people didn't, ever, and that was simplicity and leading with quality always matters, right? Innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And he felt that to his core. He did everything on that basis. There was a famous conversation between he and Bill Gates, where Bill's first question when he was looking at this new Mac, he said, well, what's the profit margin on this Mac? And Steve said to him, that's the difference between you and me. I never ask that question. I never look at forecasts, because if I make the great product, all that will come. First company to ever hit the $1 trillion market cap. First company in history to hit $1 trillion of market cap, Apple, with a handful of products because of that. And this is what ChatGPT told me, right? Embracing new technologies like AI. So I'll leave with one last quote, though, because this one I've always loved. I love this guy. You'll recognize him. Good old Yogi Berra. He said once, the future just ain't what it used to be. It's a great quote. It's almost like, nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. What? Yogi? What does that mean, right? So that's Yogi. That's the take on it. Adapt or die. Go back and drive your company. I hope I've inspired some of you. I'm going to leave you with comments from our team.
It's as if I'm Harry Potter, just beginning my journey to wield the magic that is AI. And the adventure has only just begun.
It has reshaped how I approach and solve complex issues. What I can say is really a game changer.
For example, I was able to create, together with my team, Copilot for Object Store based on OpenAI. It should greatly improve experience for Object Store developers.
With the help of GenAI, I was able to create a Python script to perform Jira API calls in some hours.
Thank you one more time. Big round of applause for Eric Vaughan.